Good evening. Welcome to our Municipal Council for the evening this evening, Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, 6:04 p.m. And I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the June 25th meeting of Municipal Council, which I will now call to order. Are there any declarations of interest from members of council? Seeing none, I will move along to item C. The town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaty First Nation and other Indigenous peoples. And on behalf of council, I thank them for sharing this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as East Gwillimbury's closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and the waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. Item D of our agenda is deputations. We have no deputations this evening. Item E is presentations. There are no presentations, bringing us to item F. And that is the committee recommendations to adopt the Committee of the Whole Council recommendations from the meeting held on June 4th, 2024. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Crone, Councillor Leahy. Be it resolved that council adopt the Committee of the Whole Council recommendations from the meeting held on June 4th, 2024. All those in favor? And that's carried. Item 2 is to adopt the Committee of the Whole recommendations from the meeting held on June 25th, 2024. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Crone, Councillor Carruthers.
Can we have them put up on the screen, please?
Madam Mayor, just a moment. I'll have to get those ready.
Move it?
Yeah, you're fine with that.
Yeah, I should move it, yeah.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, just one moment. I'll bring them up on the screen. These are the motions that were approved at the committee meeting at 2 o'clock today.
Thank you.
And sorry, I'm just switching windows here. So I'll just sort of scroll through them because there are 4. They won't fit on the same page. So the first was the draft audited financial statements report. The second was the development charge bylaw amendment. The third was the, excuse me, the potential fee relief for the Sharon Masonic Lodge. and the fourth was the zoning bylaw amendment concerning 17743 McCowan Road.
Thank you. Be it resolved that council adopt the committee of the whole council recommendations from the meeting held on June 25th, 2024. Moved by Councillor Crone, seconded.
Can we separate, can we do 1 and 2 together, and then 3 and 4 separately, please? And I
Yes.
would like number 3 to be a recorded vote, please.
Madam Mayor, maybe just to start with number 1 and 2, just a mover and seconder for those two items.
Can
Councillor.
we have them on the screen, please?
Yeah, just a moment, please.
Okay. Councillor Roy DiClemente.
I believe Councillor Crone moved
Yes.
these, and I'm happy to second these two.
Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, again, I'll just scroll through because they don't quite fit. These first two items would be the draft financial statements and the development charge bylaw amendment.
The council confirms that it intends that the amendments used in the,
Oh, we'll just do it in one.
we'll do it in one. Okay,
You just call it.
okay. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much.
Okay, Madam Mayor, for the items 3 and 4, excuse me, through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Roy DiClemente, you wanted a recorded vote for both the two items?
For number 3, please.
Or just number 3, okay.
Put them on the screen.
Just one moment, please.
Thank you. Number,
Apologies. So, Madam Mayor, we had Councillor Crone and Roy DiClemente, I believe, move the first two. Is it the same mover and seconder, or will it be separate?
Happy to
movers?
move it.
No?
Councillor Foster? Yes.
Okay. So, Madam Mayor, Councillor Roy DiClemente has requested a recorded vote. I've highlighted on the screen the motion number 3 there. Councillor Roy DiClemente, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Carruthers, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Haxon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Johns is absent. Councillor Leahy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, that vote is carried.
Thank you.
And just one moment, Madam Mayor, there's just the one last item to deal with. That would be item number 4. You just need a mover and seconder for that one.
Could I have a mover and a seconder, Councillor Hay and Councillor Foster? Be it resolved that Development Services Planning Branch Report DS 2024-15 dated June 25th, 2024, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Grandview Equestrian Farms, Inc., 17743 McCowan Road, file ZBA 2306, be received, and that council approve and enact the zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 2306 included as Appendix 7 to Development Services Report DS 2024-15 to rezone the Lands Oak Ridge Moraine Corps ORMC zone to a site-specific Oak Ridge Moraine Corps zone ORMC-177. Could I have a mover and a seconder? I do have one already. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Carried. Adoption of minutes to adopt the Committee of the Whole Council minutes from the meeting held on June 4th, 2024. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crothers and Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that's carried. Number 2, to adopt the council minutes from the following meetings: special meeting held on June 4th, 2024, and regular meeting held on June 4th, 2024. Could I have a mover and seconder? Be it resolved that council adopt the following minutes. Council minutes from the special meeting held on June 4th, 2024. Council minutes from the regular meeting held on June 4th, 2024. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crothers. Sorry. Councillor Crothers, Councillor Rodeo Clemente. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are now at item H, statutory public meeting. Official Plan Amendment Application 18642 Leslie Street GP Limited, 18642 Leslie Street OPA 2401. There we go. I have some procedure comments. For statutory public planning meeting statement, members of the public, this portion of the council meeting is a statutory public meeting under the Planning Act. The purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public and obtain public input on a planning application received by the town prior to a full technical analysis being conducted by our staff. No decision to approve or refuse the application will be made here tonight. There will be presentations from both town planning staff and the applicants on these development applications. Following these presentations, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments or concerns respecting the proposals. Submissions can also be made in writing. It is very important that the town receive the names and addresses of individuals having an interest in the planning application. If you plan to speak to council at this meeting, or if you wish to be notified of any future council meetings concerning the application being considered, you must, and I repeat that, you must provide your contact information to the clerk. Under the Planning Act, the application or residents have a right to appeal any decision of council on planning applications to the Ontario Land Tribunal. But you must verbally express any comments or concerns here tonight. To submit any comments or concerns in writing to the town before the bylaw is passed. The tribunal may dismiss all or part of an appeal made in respect to an application. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded for storing and broadcasting on the internet. Your name, your address, comments, and any other personal information is being collected and maintained for the purpose of sending correspondence relating to the matters before council and creating a record that is available to the public in hard copy format and on the internet in an electronic format pursuant to Section 27 of the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Questions about the collection of personal information should be directed to the town clerk. I'll now ask the General Manager of Development and Services to begin with the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd like to ask our Planner 2, Janani Nagaland, to provide the planning context for this official plan amendment application.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, councilors, staff, and members of the public. My name is Janani Nagulan, and today I'll be presenting the official plan amendment application at 18642 Leslie Street. This is a statutory public meeting, and therefore no decisions will be made with regards to this official plan amendment. Next slide, please. The official plan amendment proposes to add site-specific provisions to the existing village core designation to facilitate a proposed development. The development would consist of 18 duplexes, 1 triplex, and to retain the existing heritage dwelling on the property. So this would be a total of 40 units. Next slide, please. The property is municipally known as 18642 Leslie Street. It is approximately 0.44 hectares or 1.09 acres in size. There is a 1.5-story dwelling on the property, and it is listed on the town's Register of Culture and Heritage Properties. The property is surrounded by residential uses, predominantly single detached dwellings. However, south of the subject property is the approved site for a future 6-story condominium building. Next slide, please. The subject property is designated Village Core Area. The intent of the designation is to provide a range of uses that support the growing local community at densities that support transit. The property is located on a local corridor, which is Leslie Street. Corridor developments are intended to support urban mixed-use character that is pedestrian-oriented and, again, supports transit use. Next slide, please. So the proposed official plan amendment, again, is to add site-specific provisions. These provisions are to permit standalone residential uses in the form of multiple dwellings where the current policies only permit residential units within mixed-use buildings, to retain the existing heritage dwelling and convert it to a live-work dwelling, and to permit a maximum density of 92 units per hectare on the subject property where the current official plan designation permits a maximum of 32 units per net hectare. Next slide, please. The current zoning of the property is mixed use 1. The zone permits a variety of residential and non-residential uses. However, it does not permit duplexes or triplexes. Therefore, a subsequent zoning bylaw amendment application will be required. There is currently a holding provision on the property, an H4 holding provision, which limits the permitted uses until servicing allocation is available. Next slide, please. A review of the proposed official plan amendment application is currently being conducted by internal departments and external agencies. Planning staff have identified the following matters to be addressed and resolved before the final report is prepared for council's consideration. So consistency and conformity with the provincial, regional, and local planning policies, the compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, the appropriateness of permitting standalone residential uses where the intent of the designation is to permit a mix of uses within the same building, the appropriateness of the proposed density, the parking configuration on the lot, the access in and out of the property, timing and allocation of the municipal servicing, infrastructure, and community facilities to support the proposed use. There were no public comments provided at the time of the submission of this presentation. In conclusion, staff are taking a technical review of the subject application, including discussions from today's public meeting. Staff will continue to comprehensively review the submitted official plan amendment application. Thank you. I'm here to answer any questions. Thanks.
Any questions from members of council? Councillor Crone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Janani, thank you for the presentation. Help me understand here and I know provincial legislation seems to be changing almost monthly at this point. From your presentation, you were saying that duplexes and triplexes are not permitted under this zoning. Is that, I got that right?
Through you, Madam Chair, based on the current zoning of the property, which is a mixed-use zone, does not permit duplexes or triplexes.
And through you, Madam Mayor, and maybe I'm lost with all the changes, but did the province not allow greater flexibility for, not that I'm saying I'm in favor of this, I just want to make sure I'm clear, that there was a little more flexibility around duplexes and triplexes, or have I got that wrong?
So through you, Madam Mayor, there was legislation that permitted 3 units by right on properties. However, due to our servicing situation within the town, we have holding provisions that prevent that from happening by right. So based on our current zoning, which is a mixed use of the property, it allows for residential and commercial properties. However, it doesn't, the type of residential properties or uses that are permitted are not duplexes or triplexes. They are more townhouses,
Okay.
things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Roy DiClemente.
Perhaps I can assist a little bit. The province may have allowed for multiple units as of right on properties that are zoned residential. We do have a constraint for servicing, so if you wanted to have 3, you couldn't because we don't have the sewage capacity. But in this circumstance, this particular property was rezoned by council, if I'm not mistaken, in 2010. So that was when the former owners were trying to convert it from a strictly residential into the commercial use that they were using it for. So this property is zoned mixed use because they made an application to council at the day, and it even predated me, and I think you were on council, Madam Mayor. But they made an application to council to be able to allow for commercial uses in the property in the first place. So that's just the zoning that's been there now. It's not what is zoned on the entire stretch of Leslie Street. It's just that property. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Can you just outline how many changes we need to make to the OP if this were to go ahead? And please correct me if I'm wrong, it triples the density. We have the no duplex issue as well as it's mixed use, and this is not mixed use. Are there any other main ones? I know sometimes there's setbacks and smaller ones, but is there any main non-conformities that we need to know about?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so with the official plan amendment that is proposed, there's only 3 amendments. With regards to zoning, that would be a subsequent application. So we haven't completely looked at the zoning. We've let the applicant know that there is some zoning deficiencies, and so they are looking to address those. But if they're not addressed, when they do look to rezone the property, then we'll take a look at those deficiencies, like setbacks and things like that.
Okay, so the 3 OP amendments are what?
So the first is to allow for standalone residential uses. So because this is a mixed use.
Mixed use,
Yep,
yeah.
so just
That's
standalone.
one.
Yep. The second would be maximum density of 92 units per hectare. And the third is one we're working on, is to allow for the heritage dwelling to exist as a live-work dwelling.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor LaHaye, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, through you. My question is regarding the timing of this in conjunction with the consultant's report, which is currently being prepared for the Sharon Heritage District. And do we have a timeline on when that will become available to us?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm just going to pass this on to our manager, Vani.
Through you, Madam Mayor, with respect to just to clarify, the question was about the Heritage Conservation District?
Yes, that's my question.
Okay,
with
so there
regard to
will
the
be
timing, yeah.
a report coming forward on this. We've completed the study phase. There is now a plan phase that we would look to move forward into a plan phase, which still does not mean that the Heritage Conservation District is going to move ahead or that it has been approved. The plan phase would just provide more detail around what is being conceived about in terms of what will be included and what implications that might have on property owners. So we anticipate that the next meeting of council that report on the study phase will be coming forward, and then if approved and adopted, we would move forward into the study phase or the plan phase. Sorry.
So just to follow up for clarification for members who are here today from the community, that will be in July, at the July council meeting that it will be expected?
Yes, that's correct. But recognizing that the property for this application is a designated property, so that's not going to change regardless of the outcome of the Heritage Conservation District study. Thanks.
Other questions? I'm not seeing any at this time. Thank you. And that would be General Manager Beijing, would you please call on the applicant or agent to present the presentation from applicant or agent? Sorry, I didn't see you. Welcome, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is David Mackay. I'm a registered professional planner with MHBC. I'm representing the applicant tonight. Ms. Giannani and I did our presentations separately, and there were some overlaps there, so I'll try not to be too repetitive in the presentation. So if we can go to the next slide. So our project team obviously includes the full variety of members of our team: planning, transportation, architecture, civil engineering, and heritage consultants. And we've provided the various studies that were requested by town staff with regards to this application. And some of them are on tonight, and hopefully if I can't answer the questions, we are certainly taking notes. My associate, Jay Murray, is taking notes, and we'll come back with answers for the public at the reporting component. Next slide. Next slide, please. And next slide. Covered a lot of these items. So the subject lands are located just down the road at the south end of the village of Sharon, as identified in red. Next slide. They are today consist of a heritage building that is circa 1860. That is intended to be retained, the heritage, the 1860s component. There was an addition on the back of the building that is proposed to be removed, and we'll work with heritage staff with regards to any permits and whatnot that need to be undertaken for that proposal. Next slide. Just quickly, in terms of the policy regime, obviously it is within the community area in the region of York official plan as it now stands. Going forward, it won't, as the town will be the sole beneficiary of planning powers going forward as of July 1st. If we can go to the next slide. The current official plan, as noted, designates it as mixed use, which does permit a variety of residential uses, but those residential uses are in a mixed-use format. So as requested, the amendment is to allow for more flexibility, to allow for just standalone residential units, as I'll show you in the next slide. This property is zoned, as mentioned, mixed use, and that will be subject to a further application, as staff have noted, where we'll deal with such things as setbacks, height, and other matters that need to be amended in the bylaw for the site-specific application. Next slide. So the proposal, as you can see here, is for a central private driveway coming off of Leslie Street to access the 19 units. 18 of those are duplex, so there's 2 units, an upper and a lower. And then the 19th unit facing Leslie Street is proposed as a triplex. We do have parking in front of those units, and then visitor parking at the rear. The intent of this proposal is obviously to provide for additional housing choice for the residents of the town in different formats than have normally been approved and exist today, and obviously will contribute to that mix of housing tenure and affordability as part of the moving forward. Next slide. Just at a glance, in terms of the statistics, as mentioned by staff, there are a total of 40 units within those 19 new buildings, and then the Heritage Building as well, which our client is looking at as a live-work opportunity, so there will be use of the building for the work component or commercial component, but also living opportunities as well. Next slide. We do have some sample elevations that we've submitted, which will be refined through the approvals process, and these don't really do justice, but the renderings that will follow do. These are 3.5-story buildings, 10 to 11 meters in height, so pretty typical of what exists for this type of product. Next slide. And these are just this is the triplex that's located at the front, and again, we'll be working with staff relative to the nature and the look and feel of the building as it relates back to the Heritage Building, which is on the north side of the driveway. Next slide. We have a series of renderings that show the proposal at this point in terms of the look and feel of the buildings. As you can see, each unit has, upper and lower, has an entrance from that central driveway, parking out front, and then obviously a variety of mixtures and materials, if we go to the next slide, that are being proposed. And that's a view from the aerial view, and you can see the Heritage House at the front of the building, of the site along Leslie Street. There is a road widening, about 7.5 meters, that's being taken by the Region of York for future widening purposes along Leslie Street, so that setback will be, and the trees that are there will be within the future right-of-way of the Region of York for this portion of Leslie Street. And we're proposing a right-in, right-out access, which has been discussed with the Region of York in terms of the limited movements. However, we do have the ability to, or providing for the provision, should the property to the north redevelop, that potentially there could be a shared access between the two properties to facilitate, future-proof that possible condition. Go to the next slide. Just a few more renderings of the proposal. Next slide. And again, these will be refined through the site plan approval process following the rezoning if it goes forward. And we'll work with staff accordingly to create a beautiful product, which our client is undertaking throughout Ontario. They've got 2 projects right now in the town of Newmarket that are well advanced of similar type of typology, and obviously looking to bring that opportunity to the town. Next slide. With regards to traffic servicing, the traffic study has confirmed that the current volumes that are proposed from the development will be adequately dealt with on the existing road network, and that the right-in, right-out will function adequately. In terms of servicing, obviously there will be a new servicing extensions from the south that will be required to facilitate the development. as well as the capacity issue, which our client is well aware of, and we understand that the holding provision will be utilized to ensure that that allocation does occur at the appropriate time prior to development occurring. And last slide. In terms of the applications, as mentioned, it is for the three components. One is with regards to density. One is require the single use of the residential component to allow the proposal to proceed. And the last is to allow live-work uses within that heritage building itself. And then there will be a future zoning bylaw amendment application should this move forward for approval. Thank you, and be happy to answer any questions council may have and to respond to any questions that the public may have as well.
Thank you very much. Are there members of council that have questions at this time? I'm not seeing any, but they may very well be before the evening is out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, are there speakers that have registered for our meeting tonight?
Madam Mayor, we do have one member who was scheduled to appear virtually. I will just, haven't seen them join, but I'll just call out their name just to check if they are available online. It was Janet Krawick. Or if Janet's in person. Doesn't appear so, Madam Mayor.
Are there members in the public that would like to come forward to the microphone? I would ask that you would come up now, and because we have quite a number here, might I keep it to about 5 minutes? And I'll give you the high sign when we're close. And if you could introduce yourself, that would be wonderful.
John Gamble. You want the address as well?
If you'd like to give it, that's fine.
I think probably Mr. Walcom has my address.
Thank you.
Anyway, Madam Mayor, councillors, I only learned of this, unfortunately, yesterday. So I put something quickly together, and unfortunately my computer also crashed. However, the current status of East Gwillimbury, virtually everyone I speak to on the subject of why they moved to East Gwillimbury states their reasons were space, large lots, room to play with their children, or just plain privacy. Quality of life. They don't have to travel to enjoy everyday life. They have it in their backyard. Lack of congestion on the roads. Fresh air. Just plain peace and quiet. Friendly and helpful neighbors. So they seem to be the main reasons why people came here. The impact of a development such as this proposal, to break it down into a number of areas. Safety. There's only one entrance, which is a combined entrance and exit. Therefore, a breakdown, an accident, you're going to block the entire area. I'm concerned that something that is limited to 22 feet in length, or width rather, is going to present a problem for fire engines. I would hope this has been checked out with our fire department and other emergency services. And if one person on that entire road parks their car, you have a problem because you don't have the room. Most of our streets, if there's a car, usually there's one side of the street you can park on. Parking is limited to one vehicle per unit and only 10 visitor handicaps, or sorry, 10 visitor spots. They are at the very end. So you can imagine some little old lady, or like myself, a little old man, who's in the middle of February trying to get her groceries in, and all the car parks are taken up. Visitors. This will be worse than some apartment buildings I've seen, where you have, if you have 92 units, and at an absolute conservative estimate, 2 people per unit, that assumes nobody has any kids. which is perhaps true, they couldn't afford it today anyway. But that's 184 people. And you have 10 parking spots? It doesn't compute. I suspect we'll have people there who are somewhat limited perhaps in their transportation abilities, either be it age, cars, whatever. They're going to have a problem. And any visitors better be nice and healthy in order to get to their destination. Social. Cramming residents into, and I hope I got this right, a 564 square foot unit. If you have 2 occupants, that's 282 square feet per person. If you happen to have a husband, a wife, and 2 kids, they've each got 141 square feet. My living room's almost that size, and I have a small house. Crime and violence. We hear every day on the radio, another shooting in Toronto, a car hijacking, thefts of cars from houses. Yesterday there was 4 shootings, today there's 1 shooting. In my opinion, this is because we've tried to pack too many people in too small an area. It's nice to have neighbors, nice to know them. It's also nice to be able to go in your house and have some privacy. You pack this many people, you're going to end up with a Gene and Finch. We hear all the time in the States of, and I can't remember what the name of them is, but it's basically very tightly co-op units. And the violence is incredible. Police are getting shot. That is a function, I believe, of packing too many people. And that's why our people came here. I love my place. I love my neighbors. But I'm also total peace and quiet when I want it. Traffic. I suspect the congestion on Leslie Street will be adversely affected. Parklands. Where are the kids going to play? Not in the front yard. Certainly not in the backyard. My suggestion at least would be to give each resident a pair of scissors so they can cut their lawn, because that's all they'll need. Zoning. Zoning bylaws have been carefully thought out considering traffic noise, available services, safety, security, and consideration of the surroundings. Residents purchase their properties with these rules in place and fully expecting to maintain the status quo. Wholesale modification of these rules unfairly penalizes them and affects their quality of life. Okay, we have a 300% increase in density. I have a problem with that. The future calls for up to six-floor condos and apartments. Currently, the limit is 4 floors. Currently, duplexes and triplexes are not permitted. I'm sure there's a valid reason for that. We have residential, and we said, okay, we want a certain quality of life. We don't want to pack these people in. Give them the space. East Gwillimbury is 80%, 87% green. Canada's second largest country in the world. I understand the provincial government through, can't remember his name at the time, called for intensification. In other words, pack it in where you have infrastructure. Perhaps a better way is to create some new infrastructure. Maybe where the Go Center is. An excellent opportunity for people who don't have cars, aren't concerned about parking, and want transportation, be able to get somewhere very quickly. In summary, and I have to give some context to where this is all going. In March 2007, the town passed a resolution to join with the Federation of Canadian Mayors and ICLEI on a project PCP, basically climate change, climate control. ICLEI is nothing more than an arm of the United Nations, which basically is going after municipalities. They have other arms that go after the federal and provincial government. A deputation was recently denied in Aurelia. And amazingly enough, they sent a letter to the applicant saying, sorry, we have to deny your application. And they actually stated why. And I'll paraphrase. The council continues to abide by the dictates of the United Nations. Most municipalities have signed up with this. One, within the last week, has finally decided to exit, and they are no longer part of that situation.
Could you wrap up, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
The other item is Bill C-70 passed in the last day or two. It has achieved royal assent. We all know it calls for foreign intervention. That's not just in provincial or federal elections. That's any foreign intervention. UN is a foreign body interfering with our way of life. I would hope that most people think that our elected officials report to the residents. Unfortunately, it appears they report indirectly to the UN. I would hope you would pass a resolution to get out of that situation, and it's a very simple thing to do. We don't need to be spending money on all these ridiculous plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
I assume there's no questions.
Not from this side tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there other members in the audience that would like to come up and speak? I would ask that you keep your comments fairly tight. We have a lot of people
my
here,
best.
and I'll kind of give you the high sign to
Okay.
wrap up
Okay.
if we really want to hear from everyone here tonight if they
Okay.
want to speak. And so I think it's the best way of keeping people at a certain amount. So
Okay.
I'll give you the heads
Thank
up.
you.
Thank you.
My husband and I have lived in Sharon. He was born and raised in the house that we live, which is directly across from this nonsense. We've lived there together for 34 years. Absolutely love our town, or village. I think you refer to it now as a village. I'm not sure how all this infrastructure is going to keep that village going. The fact that they're going to put in 82 units on less than an acre of property is unbelievable that it would even be considered. They're talking about traffic, getting in and out. Try living on Leslie Street, trying to get in and out of traffic at any time of the day. It's impossible. Noise, insane. 3 o'clock in the morning, you can go out and have a conversation because it's quiet. Any other time, you have to go away in the backyard. We're on an acre of property. The fact that this is going to go in, I can't believe it. The fact that they've allowed 2 high-rise condos and 7 blocks on the other side of Manorhampton. Again, we don't need a downtown core in the south end of Sharon. There's all sorts of properties that this can go in. Sharon is a beautiful historical town, and it's being destroyed. And I can't believe the number of for sale signs that I saw last week just on Leslie and Mount Albert Side Road. People are leaving. Why are they leaving? Our town is being destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. I just really want you all to think about it. There's a lot of longtime residents here who love it and love our town, feel safe in our town, enjoy living here. We don't want to have to move. The traffic, the people, I understand that people have to live somewhere, but not congested into a beautiful hamlet of Sharon. Just, we oppose it. We're right across the street. We oppose it. I really want you all to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Was I supposed to give my name? It's Lynn and Gary Lewis.
Thank you.
Okay. And the address?
Madam Mayor, sorry, if residents could just stop in at the desk at the back, there are the forms to fill out. You can see the arm
Okay,
waving
the
back
wave.
there. Yeah, and that will get you registered for further information on the
Okay,
file.
thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like to come up to the microphone, we'd like to hear from you. Your name, please?
My name is Jake Jennings. I'm
Welcome.
just here. I have a few questions in regards to whether or not these units are going to be privately owned and rented, or is it possible for the purchase of any one of these units for any town, or any town's members or people that live in the area? I was just curious if it's available for purchase, any of these units. And another question would be who the developer is going to be of the units in question. That's pretty well all.
That's all?
Yeah, that's
Then
it.
we'll get the answer to that very shortly.
Okay, for sure.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Please. There may be others out there that are asking the
Yes.
same questions, and this is an opportunity early in the evening to give them some answers.
Sure. So the developer is Pentacore Developments. They have a number of projects, as I mentioned, that are on the go, two in proximity here down in Newmarket on Old Main Street that are currently going through the approvals process, and they've developed other communities in Brantford, in Kitchener-Waterloo, and other areas. So they are a well-known developer in terms of a smaller developer, not one of the big guys, but they do have these types of projects. Relative to the tenure, that's still to be decided. Our client does both rental as well as condominium, so it's depends on the marketplace, and it depends on ultimately what's approved at the end of the day. So there might be a possibility for purchase or for rent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to come to the microphone? Welcome. Good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you. My name is Sherry Souls, and I'm representing my parents, Janet and Frank Russell, who are residents 60 years plus of Sharon. So my question is, I understand that there's this plan underway for, or a study for a historic district, and that this property is one of the designated sites. It meets two or more of the criteria. So why is this proposal being considered at all at this time? As I understand that no development or changes can happen to the properties while this study is underway. Am I correct in that?
I'll
From-
get an answer for you.
Okay, so the second part of that is that any change to that property and acceptance of this will be precedent setting for all homes that are designated in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead,
I'd
please.
like to ask our Manager of Planning, Victoria Moore, to speak to the implications of the Heritage Conservation District study that is ongoing.
Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Because we're in the study stage currently of the Heritage Conservation District, and Council elected not to pass an interim control bylaw, which is the mechanism that would have halted development for the period of the study. But since that was never passed, we are able to still consider new applications until essentially Council passes a bylaw to designate the district. And then also just to note that the Heritage Conservation District, the intent isn't to prevent development or limit property owners' ability to make changes and alterations to their properties. Rather, it will just implement guidelines and restrictions and requirements that must be met through a heritage permit process. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to ask, while Ms. Moore was at the podium, or perhaps Ms. Bisham can answer this, we have a legal obligation to respond to developers. So just to make sure that the audience is clear, we are not bringing this forward. It's a developer that's coming to us, and when the question is, why are you considering this now? It's my understanding that when an application comes forward, we have a legal obligation to consider it. And can you just clarify that for the audience so that they understand that this is not our timeline?
Certainly, and through you, Madam Mayor, this is a statutory public process. That is, when there is a request to amend the official plan, this public meeting is a statutory, it's required process that allows the public to have an opportunity to ask questions and provide input. We have not initiated the technical review of this application at this time. This is very early stages, and it's the kinds of questions that are being raised here this evening, as well as some of the matters of conformity that were addressed by Ms. Nagulan that would form part of the much more rigorous technical review should this application continue to move forward.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come to the microphone and share your thoughts? Welcome. Good to have you with us. Thank you.
It's on now? Okay.
It's on.
Despite me being a high school teacher for 30 years, I'm really good with kids, but I'm very nervous speaking in front of you guys. So forgive me.
Don't be.
My name is Natalie Mann. You've heard me a little bit. Victoria, we've spoken a little bit about the historical district plan. With respect to tonight, I guess I live on Leslie Street. I've lived there since '99. I am very passionate about my home. I'm very passionate about this community. As Mr. Gamble mentioned, was shockingly surprised when I moved here to be with my husband, and just how quaint it was, and just what a lovely town it's always been. So these changes are a little bit mind-blowing to me. They make me unsettled. As I drive north and I see changes happening, I understand that changes are inevitable, and I don't expect my little hamlet to stay this way forever. But this just seems really extreme. Like, I am trying to consider, and one question that I have is, if they're 3.5 stories, does that mean that they're 2 dwellings of like 2 stories, or 2 of 1 on the bottom and 1.5 on the top, or is that what that means? Yeah.
Perhaps if you have questions, then we'll have the gentleman come up afterwards. You may have more.
Yeah. My second question is also just about the servicing. I am very aware of how important servicing is. We have some to the north, and I'm anticipating that this is, as you mentioned, coming from the south. So that means that somehow servicing is going to come to this unit from the south, which is all lovely, but then that also leaves my home and all these homes in the middle without servicing, which is the golden ticket, supposedly, in terms of being able to, get onto town water sewage, and not any longer have your septic system. But anyway, I'm just curious about the servicing and how that happens to the north and to the south, but not in the middle, and whether that's maybe something that's happening that I don't know about, but you can address that. Anyway, back to my point. Just as I travel up Leslie, and homes are turning into doctor's offices, and homes are turning into dentist's office, and the change is just a little. It makes me very, very uneasy, and I can sort of stomach some things. You feel like, oh, okay, well that. I'll take the audiology center, for example. That particular owner did a wonderful job of keeping the house, and it looks quaint, and it still seems to fit in with our environment, and lovely, kudos. That's a business, and it looks great. And then I envision something like this where on a parcel of land that's as big as mine almost, to put this number of dwellings and the traffic and all of the things that Mr. Gamble had already mentioned just seems like sickening to my stomach. I'm not so much talking about something being there, but the quantity, and when I look at the plan and see the cars, inevitably those are going to spill onto Leslie Street, guaranteed that someone will come to visit and they'll find themselves on the paved, sidewalk, and the traffic coming in and out, it's going to spill over into Leslie Street, and it's going to impact all of the homeowners that live there. Those are my thoughts for the moment. I don't like it. I don't know how else to sort of explain the feeling in my stomach. It's an emotional one, and I'll leave you with that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Hi, Murray Lloyd on Leslie Street. Just need some clarification about the appeals process, if we'd like to appeal it. If you guys agree to it and we want to appeal it, is there a process?
There will be a process. This
No.
This meeting was set up more for general information. If that's the issue that is most important to you tonight, then I suggest that we'll connect you up with.
Well, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
end of yours. Now, apparently, according to Bill 185, we can no longer appeal.
Staff can answer this question.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the legislation has been introduced to eliminate what they call third-party appeals, but I would just like to recognize that we are a long ways away from approval. This is the statutory public meeting, which is really just the opportunity to hear the concerns such as, or
I
questions. such-
totally
yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're going to have to vote on it. Okay? So basically,
Absolutely.
at that point, we have no say. Basically, yeah. So your decision is imperative because your region no longer has planning processes as of July 1st. So you're it. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to come forward? Welcome. Good to have you with us.
Hello. I'm going to be really quick because I talked last time. The only concern I have is all of these developments, and not just this one, but other ones as well, it's being considered in isolation. So there's, we've got a number of different developments that are proposed, and we're not taking into account the entire impact to the area with condos and multiple townhouses and all of these other things. So I don't know, I don't know how it works, but we need to have an impact some kind of study that's done with all of these different developments and how it's going to impact the life of residents. So that's just my comment. Denise Tennant.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the audience tonight that would like to speak?
I'm just wondering if I could get an answer to that, the two-story,
My intention is that if people have finished speaking at the microphone, I know that staff and consultants are writing down information as people have spoken, and at that point, to try and have everybody's questions answered. I'm not seeing any others that would like to speak. I won't say last call because we're here as long as you want us and want to have these answers. So if there's anyone else that has questions and would like to have some answers, if you could raise your hand and we'll have you come up as well, and then we'll make sure that staff are available to answer questions to the best of their ability. Please come down. Welcome.
It's on. Hi, I'm David Chappell. I've lived here since 1982, and a big concern of mine with this just increase in population across all of Sharon. I've gone from riding my bike through fields to now there's a sea of houses. Is what about just general support infrastructure as well? Like, we don't have a fire hall here either, and our population's exploded. So is Queensville still going to be able to service all this increased population? What about medical facilities? South Lake, well, I don't know about anybody else, but I don't want to go there. The place does not seem reliable. So East Gwillimbury is exploding. We've got all this extra population. So what about servicing this massive increase in population that we're dealing with? That's my main concern.
Thank you. I'm not sure if staff are prepared to answer that question now or to research it much greater and have more meat on the bone with it, so to speak. Is there anyone else that would like to come down and share with us their concerns? I'm not seeing any more at this time. My expectation is that we will close the meeting shortly unless there are people that still don't have answers to their questions. I can tell you that we have staff that are here working on this project, and they will continue to have answers for us. So if you go home tonight and have a question that you should have said, darn, I should have said it and I didn't think about it, don't hesitate to call here tomorrow, and I'm quite sure that there will be staff that will be prepared to answer some questions or even give you more information than you've received tonight. This is important to the town, this is important to our residents, and it's important to all of us up here as well. We want to make sure that everybody is engaged with this. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I always find it worrisome when residents come to us and say, have you not looked at the whole thing, and thinking that we haven't. And I want people to take a look at the official plan. It's on the website, and that's where we look at the whole town. So whoever it was that was asking about looking at development overall, that is the official plan. And so this is asking for amendments to that official plan. And the question about fire, we do have a fire master plan that shows the development of fire stations. So I'm taking in all your questions, but I just wanted to make sure that you know that there is plans and there is studies that we have looked at this. Don't think that this is a one-off and we're very myopic just looking at this. So your concerns are very, very valid, but I just want you to know that there's master plans for roads and for sewers and all of that as well, okay? And they're all on our website.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
There was a question from the audience regarding the structure of the triplexes and duplexes, and I'm hoping that the applicant's consultant can answer that for the resident. Thank you.
Not only that question, but I think there were a couple others that were sent to you as well. So if you could go through that, that would be appreciated.
Yes, so I will try to answer some of the questions. The other component to Councillor Crother's commentary about services is that every development, as Council knows, pays development charges, which then funds future growth services, such as fire halls, such as community services. There is parkland dedication that will be facilitated by this development. That will go into the town's coffers to purchase new parkland and facilitate that development. In terms of medical facilities and schools, those are obviously funded from the province, so out of all of our control. However, it is service-based, so the more the population grows, the more demand there is, and therefore the more attention put to those types of provincially funded infrastructure to support the growing populations. So unfortunately not a great answer, but that's the answer we have. Relative to the question on the units, so the way the current setup of how they're aligned is that there will be a ground floor unit, and then the top 2 floors will be another unit. So it'll be 2 different sizes with different orientation, obviously, in different components of amenities within each of those units. And the 3.5 stories is really reflective of the roof height. There's 3 stories in terms of usable, and then there's the peaked component. We refer to that as a half story in terms of the height comparison. Relative to the heritage building, as staff had mentioned, any changes to that building will have to go through a heritage permit process, which is a very rigorous process with regards to ensuring the heritage characteristics of that building are maintained, and that's certainly the intent of my client. In terms of traffic and just the congestion issue, the study that's being prepared and is being reviewed by town and regional staff indicates, and we're anticipating a build-out of this site by 2028 because of the servicing capacity issues. It showed at a AM peak volume of 10 cars coming out and doing a southbound turn in the AM peak hour and 16 in the PM peak hour. And likewise, the southbound movement into the site at the AM peak hour of 6 cars coming in and 15 in the peak. So fairly modest compared to the current volumes, anticipated volumes southbound of 692 cars in the AM peak and 532 in the PM peak. So a pretty small drop in the bucket compared to the overall traffic that is occurring on the site. And that's the traffic engineers that study that based on their analysis and their assumptions and whatnot. As I said, that's being reviewed by both the town and the region. Relative to parking, that was raised. The parking on the site, we are providing the required parking for visitors as per the town's bylaw. There are 2 spaces that we are short in terms of the resident parking, but we assume that not every resident of this development will have a parking. Parking is overall is dropping across the GTA. However, if we need to, we'll work with staff to come up with additional parking spaces on the site. Obviously, that would change the current format. But we are, very close to the requirements of the town with regards to that matter. There were comments regarding safety and crime and violence, and I think there are assumptions being made about the type of living that happens in this type of development, and jumps in the commentary and conclusions that will occur, and I don't think that's fair or appropriate to bring through a planning process, so I won't respond any further to those. I believe I've covered all of the major items. If I miss any, I'd be happy to be corrected and respond further. Thank you.
Councillor Roygate-Commende, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just Mr. Mackay's comments raised another question for me, and that regarding the traffic circulation. So I don't remember the exact number you quoted, but in the AM peak, there was a certain number making a right-hand southbound movement.
Yes, 10.
Presumably 10. How do those 10 cars get home if they're not allowed to make a left-hand turn into their driveway into the subdivision?
That's a good question, and unfortunately, the region of York has decided that only a right-in, right-out access is permitted on this area, so they will have to make a turn on the roadway. Either at an intersection coming into this parking lot and turning around, or coming a different way home and coming down southbound. So.
Or your client has to get more creative.
Sorry?
Or your client has to get more creative.
True.
Thank you.
And one of the things, as I did mention, is that we are looking for a potential access to the north, should that property redevelop, and therefore provide additional potential for access. We're future-proofing that. It's not guaranteed, obviously.
So that would be the property that's owned by the church?
I believe that there's property in between, I believe. Could be wrong. So,
I think the audience is telling us that it's owned by the church. Thank you.
okay.
Councillor Foster, then Councillor Brothers. Good. Councillor Leahy, go ahead.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Mayor. First, I want to thank everybody in the audience who took the time out of their busy lives to come out tonight from your jobs and your families, because obviously it's an important issue to you, and we appreciate you sharing your comments and your concerns. And I think it's slightly unrealistic to expect that residents will make it a priority to familiarize themselves with the contents of the entire website in terms of planning. Although I encourage engagement, I think that we have to have realistic expectations. And so this is the purpose of tonight, for you to ask your very valid questions. And my second point, I would like to, through you, Madam Mayor, ask, as we have done in the past when we have had a full house of concerned residents, we have followed up with them and provided them with information in the future to give you a heads up when this item will be appearing on the agenda again in the future. And so I'm wondering if there's any opportunity for the town to provide that information to the residents who have come out tonight, if they provide their email addresses, if there is a way of coordinating communication with them, so that we can be effectively communicating. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crothers, go ahead, please.
Madam Mayor, I asked the question. I think Madame Bégin would like to answer the question about following up communication. Yeah, thank you.
If you're prepared now, if not, I was going to leave it till the end of the meeting and go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. It is actually part of the statutory public meeting process that interested parties, if they have a question and leave their email or contact us in writing, that they would be notified and receive when this information or when this matter is coming before council. That process is already embedded in our statutory process.
Thank you very much for that clarification, which I expect that most of the residents who are here tonight were not necessarily aware of, that they could leave their email address to be informed of future meetings. So thank you very much.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Councillor Rodeo Clemente beat me to the question about the write-in, write-out. And, you know, if we leave it to the region, if the region ever allows a left-out, I can tell you it's impossible. I've been to that site years ago. It's probably been 10 years since I used to have to go there for a business that was in there. And left-out is impossible. So I think it's going to be really important that we take a better look at the traffic flows on this, because having people do a U-turn is not going to be good. And we've seen what's happened farther down on Leslie Street with the daycare, with the Tim Hortons, when people have been trying to cut across traffic when they shouldn't be. And I think that's something that could happen here. So I won't belabor that point, because that's maybe something that we're going to get to later if this ends up progressing. But I did want to ask about the road widening, because I'm looking at the site plan. You had mentioned about the road widening, and I just took a closer look at the site plan. And the road widening goes right up to the porch. It actually probably intersects with the porch, except there's a strategically placed tree on there that you can't see where the road actually hits the porch. So I think that we're going to have to really take a look at setbacks with the proposed road widening, and make sure that even after the road widening that the setbacks are still met, because certainly people aren't going to want a sidewalk that actually hits their front porch.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see that there is another arm up. I'm wondering if it is 7:23, and I know that there are people who still have questions, and I'm wondering if it may be more advantageous if we were to give you the name and number of our staff people that you could be in touch with by phone, if that works better. We could do both. As I said, it's only 7:24. So if you'd like to go to the microphone, that would be fine. I know you've had one, but if there's others that haven't had an opportunity at all, then I'll give you the high sign.
Just one quick question, Mr. Mackay, I believe it is. There are, from my understanding, approximately 100 parking spots. How could it possibly be that only 10 people are going to leave in the morning and 16 are going to come back at night? Are we going for strictly retired people? It just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. Perhaps I'm just not understanding it properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to go to the microphone? Go ahead, please.
Just to clarify, Leslie Street being widened, are we talking how far north is it going to be widened? Any answers? I don't know.
We're in the early stages, as you realize now, but these are the kinds of details that will come back to us very shortly.
Okay.
Please leave your name and number if you want communications as it moves along. Go ahead, please.
I'm just wondering if staff might be able to address that question about the road widening. As I understand it, there may not necessarily be any imminent plans to widen the road, but it is the region's standard practice to, whenever an application comes to them, they simply take their pound of flesh just in case, I guess is the best way of putting it, that they make sure that they've reserved the right to widen in the future when these applications come, but perhaps staff could, for lack of a better pun, flesh that out for us.
Do we have staff that might want to? Yes, please. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. You are correct. The regional official plan calls for a 36-meter right-of-way in this section of Leslie Street. And so when a development application comes forward, obviously, rather than expropriating the land in the future, they do take it at a development application. And as I mentioned, it's about 7 or so meters wide that is being taken from this property should it proceed forward. Relative to the question the gentleman had on the parking, there are 47 parking spaces proposed, not 100. And the analysis has been done by a professional traffic engineer. And again, using the ITE standards that are used by traffic engineers to generate the numbers of traffic based on years and years, decades of information. And these will be reviewed and confirmed by town and regional staff. Thank you.
I see 2 hands up. If you'd like to go to the microphone, I think that's the best way of hearing what you have to say.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify to Councillor Carruthers. I wasn't saying that the council hadn't considered it. I'm just saying that with the official plan, all of these are amendments to the official plan. And so I think a lot of the developers do studies and they're doing it in isolation. So sorry, I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Hi again. I'm going to bring up the traffic issue. I don't know what professional you're using, but you can come and sit on my porch and take a look at the traffic that is constant. Since the subdivision on the southwest was put in, traffic has quadrupled. The traffic study that was done for the 6-story condo that the traffic experts did during the first lockdown of COVID said that it was fine. There was no traffic. You could have shot a cannon down Leslie Street. So I don't know who your guys are, but I can give you an estimate of how much traffic. And the fact that there's just going to be a right-hand turn, who's going to do that when they want to go left and Prince's? Nobody. So you may want to go back to your drawing board. Sorry for being kind of rude, but I'm very passionate about this.
We have your message.
Okay, thank you. You
Thank
got
you.
my letter, too.
And what I was also going to say is we'll put some paper out. I'm just trying to see where might be a good spot over here in the corner. At the back, we have paper, and if you would like to leave your name and number, your coordinates, just so we'll keep you in touch with what is happening, and if there's more public meetings or whatever the case may be, then we would be able to be in touch with you. I'm not seeing any other questions, so I would like to thank you all for coming out. This is our beautiful community, and we want to keep it that way, and we know that everyone in this room they love Leslie Street, and they love the area, and we're going to work very hard to make sure that we get all the things that we need to within this. And we'll keep you posted. And so should there be another meeting, whether it's even a flyer or a letter or whatever, we'll keep you in touch so you know how things are progressing and what is taking place. I hope that's helpful for all of you. Thank you very much for coming out and being so courteous. We appreciate it. We'll just take a recess here, members of council, about 15 minutes. Thank you. I'm looking at our agenda and a call for a mover and a seconder at this time. Yeah, be it resolved that Development Services Planning Branch Report DS 2024-16 dated June 25th, 2024, entitled Official Plan Amendment Application 18642 Leslie Street GP Limited, 18642 Leslie Street OPA 2401 be received, and that comments received at the statutory public planning meeting be addressed by the Development Services Planning Branch in a comprehensive report to a future council meeting date. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crothers, Councillor Roy DeClemente, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you for moving that, and we have no correspondence for consideration. We do. A little further down. There we are. We do have some correspondence. Correspondence from the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario dated May 31st, 2024 regarding the rehabilitation of Highway 404 from north of Stouffville Road to Mulock Drive. Could I have a mover or a seconder, please? Councillor Crothers, Councillor Crone. Be it resolved that the correspondence from the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario dated May 31st, 2024 regarding the rehabilitation of Highway 404 from north of Stouffville Road to Mulock be received. All in favor? And that's carried. Correspondence from MAD York Region dated May 31st, 2024 regarding the 7th Annual Golf for MAD Tournament. I need a mover and a seconder. Be it resolved that the correspondence from MAD from York Region dated May 31st, 2024 regarding the 7th Annual Golf for MAD Tournament be received. Moved by Councillor LaHaye, seconded by Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that's carried. Looking at the corporate sponsorship opportunities and to support the important work of MAD, would Council support a sponsorship? What do you think? Depending on a decision, resolutions may be revised. I'm not seeing enlightenment. So we'll leave it, we'll percolate it a little bit to see if we may want to do something like that. Correspondence from J. Haig dated June 10th, 2024 regarding a petition opposing the proposed development of a self-storage facility, Highway 11 and Crimson King Way. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor LaHaye, Councillor Crothers. Be it resolved that the correspondence from J. Haig dated June 10th.
Madam Mayor.
Yes?
I have a question, and I think there may be another councillor who has a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I had asked for this to be put on the agenda as correspondence. It's coming from residents in Ward 1. The petition was shared with council, but because it included personal information such as phone numbers, it's not appearing on this agenda, but I just wanted for the record that along with this letter was approximately 200 signatures of people within the Hillsborough subdivision opposing the self-storage on Highway 11. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew what this was here for, and I'm happy to move that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DeClemente. Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to make a follow-up comment because the petition was discussed at the public information session that happened a couple of weeks ago, which I attended as along with, I believe, most of the, if not all of the councillors were there. So I just wanted to state that for clarification, again, if it would be possible to follow up with everyone who signed the petition, because I think that there's some misunderstanding from my conversations with several members of the public who attended, their understanding of the definition of industrial and that question came up. And so I'm hoping that we can follow up with the members on the petition and potentially provide further information regarding the development proposed. Thank you.
The staff that were at that event might have a list of those that wanted to be on a list. Go ahead.
It wasn't a town-sponsored event. It was sponsored by Kerbal, and they do have the names of everyone who signed in, and they do know the questions that were asked by the people who did attend. So they do have that. I think with most of these on here, it's phone numbers, so unless we're going to have a staff person pick up the phone and make 200 calls, I'm not sure that that would be the best way, but I would suggest that as this application moves through the process, that homeowners in the entire subdivision do get a mailing on this, because there was quite a few people at the information night and quite a few people on this petition. So I think that spreading it far and wide to make sure everyone in Hillsborough knows what's happening next would be warranted. Thank you.
I would hope that the developer would take that on themselves, but if not, we'll encourage them. Go ahead, please.
I wonder if it might be appropriate for staff to draft a response, given that this petition was sent to members of council, and obviously the applicant has a responsibility to communicate with their neighbors. But given that this is a petition that was sent to council, I wonder if we might draft a response to explain the circumstances and not just what this application is, but what the overall plans are for the area, because it's not just self-storage, there's other things that are happening there. And at least, I realize that there's phone numbers, but at least send it back to the correspondent who sent us the petition to say, here's the response to this petition, and we hope that your neighbor will continue to engage with you. I just wonder if that would be appropriate and helpful to try and head some of this anger off, because there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding out there.
I might suggest that I'll work to draft a letter and then with staff, and then distribute it to members here. And if it's an A-OK, then we can send it off. I'm not going to do it on my own. Yes. Yes.
Madam Mayor, I believe that the Development Services GM maybe has a suggestion on what we would propose to maybe try and satisfy that request.
Thank you.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I mean, should it be council's wish to draft a response, we can certainly provide some suggested content that explains, the planning process in terms, the self-storage facility is a permitted use. It conforms with the official plan. It does not contravene any zoning bylaws. So from a purely planning process perspective, it's an approved use. But to Councillor Roy DeClemente's point, there are other developments being planned that would address some of the the ideas, and it's acknowledged in the letter that there are commercial uses coming. So if it's your wish to respond, we can certainly assist with providing content for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Given that this is a ward that came to you, Councillor Carruthers, I'm not going to step over on your toes and say that what we should be doing for your constituents, but I feel strongly that it would be helpful to communicate that. Didn't know I was being funny, sorry.
Thank you, and it came to Terry and myself as well as the mayor, so I'm not sure. I assume Gina has responded. It might be a general response, we hear you, or we've received it, but a more detailed response is definitely warranted. But my main concern is that everyone know when the public meeting is for this, that they are invited here, because that's something that we hear all the time, is they don't know. So I think that's my main concern, because I think a response that's a little more generic may or may not help, but the public meeting would.
My understanding is that because it's a permitted use, there isn't a public meeting, so it isn't going to come to us for a decision because it's really just a site plan and not anything for us to approve.
Sorry, there is an amendment for the middle section. So the self-storage is one section, and it's the middle section that there's a official plan amendment or rezoning, because Joanne said that it would be coming in September.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes. Okay, I think I understand now that you want to make sure that the residents that are concerned about this application are further informed about the subsequent application. So, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Councillor Leahy?
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Mayor. I was in attendance along with many members of council, and I feel it's important to emphasize that there were so many residents who had concerns, and the ones that I spoke to before about the issue of the word industrial, and it was specifically referencing the center portion of the plan. And although the petition is with regard to the self-storage, there was a concern about that central part of the plan. And so if that, if there could be clarification directed specifically to that central portion, I believe it's also important that the residents were heard, and they appreciated the fact that there were councillors there and the mayor was there from all wards, and all of them are taxpayers for East Gwillimbury, and it is always appropriate for members of any member of any ward to be communicating and addressing concerns regardless of which ward the application is taking place in, because we all vote in the end on the overall application. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Just a point of clarification, we don't have an application yet, so we procedurally can respond to the application, the site plan application for the self-storage. I think the developer was trying to illustrate sort of future plans at the community meeting that they hosted, but those are not yet active applications. So just wanted to make that clarification.
And thank you. And to follow up, I think that would be appreciated from the residents as well, that they have an understanding of that distinction.
Thank you. Anything else that we need to cover at this point? I was trying to. This here. No, sorry. Here.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'm wondering if we should, so I've moved the resolution to receive this petition, but I'm wondering if we should actually add to it that staff respond to the one person with letting them know that the self-storage is as a right and will not be coming before council, because they are under the impression that we will be voting on this. And I think it's important to clarify that and let them know that future applications haven't been submitted yet. I think the community is very confused, and there needs to be some clarification from staff. And I think just going to this one person, I believe there was another petition that was sent directly to you, Madam Mayor, because I believe I saw Gina respond to that one. So Gina could find that for us, and just to the people who are sending in petitions on this, send some clarity.
Do we have?
Madam Mayor, I'll just share in the screen just a sort of quick draft of the wording there from Councillor Carruthers.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the clerk. I think Councillor Carruthers just mentioned that there were actually 2 petitions. Is that correct? Councillor Carruthers, it says there's 1 petition organizer, but perhaps it needs to say the two petitions.
I don't believe that was sent to me directly. I think it was sent to the mayor's office. So I think that if we respond this way, I think that the mayor can then direct Ms. Casey to respond if there is others, and if there's future ones as well, right? Yeah.
Does everyone have that in front of them? Would you like me to read it out? No. Okay. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. J1, Legal and Legislative Services Memo Transfer 0.3 Reserve to York Region. Moved and seconded by, be it resolved that the Legal and Legislative Services Memorandum dated June 25th, 2024, entitled Transfer 0.3 meters Reserve to York Region be received. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Foster, Councillor LaHaye. Any questions? Go ahead.
I'm wondering if staff could speak to this. I believe this is in Newmarket, and I'm just interested in how this happened and if there is any others.
Perhaps you could help us out with this one?
Try again.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I actually had the very same question because it does look like it's in Newmarket. So I've asked my law clerk to confirm that. But if in fact it is correct and the region has asked the town of East Gwillimbury to transfer it to them, and it might have been in East Gwillimbury's name before, maybe by accident, or that's also possible. I'm going to assume that both law clerks did not get this wrong and that it is the result of municipal boundaries changing. So if that is indeed the case, the purpose of the memo is just to notify council that pursuant to the delegation to me from council to address these remnant parcels, to clear up the title of what's on the registry with the title of the actual government that owns it. That's what this is about. So please understand that if there was that mistake, if that was a mistake, I'm not saying it was, we won't be transferring it, obviously, because we're not the town of Newmarket, but very good catch. I caught it as well. Thank you.
Councillor Foster.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I believe it says in the report from 1970. There's a caption in there from 1970. So that was East Gwillimbury. That was part of the thing that went to Newmarket with the regional government in 1971. So that's why it's there. Somehow it got missed. The subdivision there was called East Gwillimbury Heights for years.
Yes, it was.
Just so you know. Ray Twinney was on council at the time in East Gwillimbury.
And I was working there. Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
So I did get that. And I see that it's, so my question was, if this is in Newmarket, is there, how did this happen? And is there other parcels like this? I know this is small potatoes and it's late, but I'm just, if there's a short answer to, we're cleaning up and we found this, or some sort of explanation. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there will be a number of remnants which don't align with the registry office. That has been true since the time I joined the government of municipalities. So this will not be the only one that comes in front of this council for information as we try to clean up some of the, you know, the history of time and the moving boundaries of roads and geographical boundaries of municipalities.
Any other questions, comments? So we have this in front of us, Jay. Does everyone have it? Questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And with that, Development Services Memo. Does everyone have that in front of them? Anyone that doesn't have it in front of them? I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Foster. And Councillor Crothers. All those in favor? That's carried. Number 3. Does everyone have that in front of them? Councillor Crothers? Councillor Roy DiClemente? All in favor? That's carried. We have bylaws. Please do.
Yeah, okay. Madam Mayor, just for clarification for council, there were the 2 bylaws that were added from the agenda today at Committee of the Whole at 2 o'clock. So the first would be Bylaw 2453, which would amend the townwide development charges, and 2024-55, and that was the zoning bylaw related to 17743 McCowan Road.
Councillor Foster, Councillor LaHaye, all those in favor? That's carried. And we have other business confirming bylaw. Do you have other business? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had a chat about this a little bit earlier, and I have the pleasure of bringing some, I guess, ending off the night with a good news story and a little bit of exciting stuff. So one of our EG homegrown hockey players, Sam Bennett, was a little bit of history last night, winning the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers. Unfortunately, Ms. Bejen's Edmonton Oilers were not successful. But anyway, the Stanley Cup will be coming to Canada after all. So Sam grew up in Holland Landing and played his minor hockey, some minor hockey in East Gwillimbury for the East Gwillimbury Eagles. I believe there's a picture in the arena of Sam, and I think probably one with the Stanley Cup would be a nice update as we go forward. He also played hockey for the York Region Express, York Simcoe Express. He moved up through the ranks, and I believe he was drafted 4th overall to the Calgary Flames in 2014, it says here. That doesn't sound right to me, but it's got to be very close to that. Anyway, everybody in East Gwillimbury is quite proud of that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in East Gwillimbury, and maybe us, who might like to celebrate the Stanley Cup when it does come home. So I would stand proudly with council and have a picture taken with the Stanley Cup. Just,
Right.
you know, just as a little bit of a hint. Anyway, that's all. Sure.
In this room.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. It's wonderful. Thank you. Will I plan on hearing something from you to get something set up?
Sorry, I'm assuming his family still lives in Holland Landing. I believe they do. I'm not sure of that, but if we can certainly do a little bit of a look for that, we can get some information.
Wonderful. I have a confirming bylaw.
Move receipt of that.
Oh, the hockey.
Yeah, I'll move
Thank you.
receipt.
Move receipt. Thank you. Counselor Foster. All in favor? That's carried. We have a confirming bylaw. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Counselor Roy DeClemente, Counselor Foster, all in favor? That's carried. And an adjournment at 8:02. Be it resolved that the meeting of council adjourn at 8:02 p.m. I have a mover and a seconder, Counselor LaHaye. Counselor Crothers, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much, staff. It was a big day. Appreciate all the support, and we certainly got a lot accomplished today, a lot more than I thought we were going to. It's great. Thank you.